Personality. Welcome aboard, Anna.
Thank you for having me, Blaine.
Okay, and Anna, if it's working, we're trying Facebook Live, and I think I told you we're having some technical difficulties, but you can wave to all your fans and friends on Facebook Live.
Hello, Facebook Live people out there.
Okay, great.
Hopefully more than 5 of you.
Okay, and well, there will be, you'll see. You're also on the radio. And I should mention that Anna is a actor, director, writer. She was a member of New York City's Southern Repertory Theater Company, Love Creek 93-99. She was in over 60 new works in the New York, Manhattan area. She's done, you name it, she's done it in the New York area. She's also studied the Sanford Meisner acting technique, an exclusive program at Carnegie Hall Studios for 2 years. She's also been in several plays in the local area and act other theaters as well. And Anna, I know you've now kind of shifted gears as opposed to writing, as opposed to acting. You're now doing more writing. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
What got you into that?
Well, I mean, the short answer was the 2016 election. Obviously, we all know it was an unusual election, and there was a huge reaction to that election. So that's what initially drove me to write my very first full-length play.
Now, when you were a little kid, you grew up where?
Well, I grew up here in Asheville.
And did you always know, as growing up in Asheville, did you always know you wanted to be in theater?
Well, I did. I was involved with local theater here in Asheville as a kid and even performed in one of the earliest Bell Shares right here on Wall Street.
That was your first performance?
Well, I mean, one of them, certainly. I was in middle school. Worked with a wonderful teacher who brought kids out to do street theater for early Bell Share.
I have a great idea. I don't know if anybody would pick it up, but it's a fundraiser for one of the local theaters, maybe Asheville Community Theater. We should get everybody to do their very first show, and then, so you can make, like, the first thing on Bell Share. Did they tape that?
I think that there was silent film during those days. So you can get a visual on it, but no audio.
But wouldn't that be cool if you made a comeback for your son? You were telling me off the air that he could see Mom, her very first play, even in elementary school, or were you ever in anything as a kid?
Oh, yeah, I played Betsy Ross.
So,
yeah.
But you don't have a record of that?
No record of
so
that.
Think about that. We should do that as a...
I do have a memory of it, however, yes.
Asheville Community Theater, or Magnetic Theater you do some work at. We just get it. Everybody comes in just there's 5 minutes of their first routine. Just an idea I had.
Very funny.
So, all of a sudden, then, 2016, you were still acting then, and you still considerably may act in the future, but you decided to write a play. What got you into that?
Well, I had done, scene writing before.
Have you move the mic a little bit closer to you,
Okay.
if you could, Honor, and I think that'll be a little bit better. So you've done some scene writing. Yeah.
Yeah, I did some scene writing. I was teaching theater before that at ACT to kids, which was really fun, and inserted some of my writing there. And I think I've just been in theater my entire life, so structure and writing came fairly easy to me. And I had this concept with Mountain Political Action Committee that I wanted to create sort of this funny ensemble dream team of locals to help take on some of the issues that were happening right after the 2016 election.
And the fun thing about that play, that just caught me completely off guard because I had no expectations for it. It's just, I knew some of the performers in it, and Magnetic, I liked some of the stuff they did. And I saw this play, and wow, it was really kind of fun.
Oh, good. Well, that was the intention. The intention, too, is that everyone has been absolutely deadly serious, and there's a lot of comedy in life, and we also need to celebrate that comedy in life.
And the fun thing I think about that play is also it has relevance, I believe, for other people outside of Asheville. I mean, do you see it that way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a play that could be mounted in any major city so that perhaps, say, New York as an example, people have this one idea of the red states, and they don't realize that there are, for instance, a lot of mountain Democrats in this region.
Has the show been picked up by anybody else yet?
No, because the Magnetic had such a success with it in the last season. that, it worked out for me to write a companion piece. I don't want to call it a sequel because it stands alone. You don't need to have seen the first show to see the second one remotely. So it was such a great group, and of course the actors in the first play are all back. Thankfully, every one of them are back, and we've doubled the size of the cast. So,
But it's
yeah.
great because I remember some of the actors, and Mike Gow, I believe, was in the first one.
No, he's in the second
but
one.
Scott Cameron,
Scott Cameron and
he was
Tim-
in the first one, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
Tim Plout, Tara Theodosis, Delina Hensley, all great actors.
And so they're coming in the second play. It's a little bit different than the first one, though. Is that correct?
Well, it's still the same nature and temperament of the characters have not changed remotely, but they have to take on another group in the Asheville area, which are a Tea Party group. Now, it's completely imagined and made up, of course, and some of the funny comedic bits are the fact that two of the members are related to one another in the two different groups. So that brings in a lot of comedy.
I guess in these two plays, we'll talk about them as companion pieces or however you want to call it, even though it's humorous, there's some degree of truth to it, would you say?
Oh, yeah. Well, comedy comes out of truth. Comedy comes out of darkness. The greatest comedians, when you think about it, all write from very dark places.
And I guess, especially if you follow Asheville politics, there's enough out there to write not only two plays, you could probably write about 17.
I think I could write a show a week. I mean, seriously. Right now, I feel like Asheville's been in a meltdown over a lot of change. And so, there is some comedy in that, of course, just because people can show their very worst side when they're upset and impassioned. And so if you were to stand back and look at it from a theatrical point of view, it's really quite funny.
I never thought about it until you just mentioned it. But that's kind of an interesting thing about politics, that it's a great way to show people's worst side,
Oh, yeah. Well, Saturday Night Live has been doing it for
Right.
decades, of course.
But I never thought about it in context of Asheville. But yeah, when
Yeah.
you see it Asheville,
Yeah.
Instead of everybody pulling together and being on the same page, it's apparently kind of hard to do that.
Well, social media's completely shifted the paradigm. So, we see in our culture it's harder to unify because everyone has a strong opinion and is able to voice it, from the comfort of their own home. And so that's completely shifted the dialogue.
Talking not about the play right now, but just in general, the point you said about social media, is it possible through social media or even through a play, everybody back on the same page?
Well, that's the hope. And I think people are exhausted right now from being enraged and being upset. So there is some willingness, hopefully, in our culture to see that we could find common ground. But it may not be common ground with politics. It may be common ground with other things that can unify people, like sports or other entertainment, for instance.
And even in theater, that you can poke political parties together. And if people laugh at each other, in some respects, that might be good.
Absolutely. And while politics is a bit of the backdrop of my plays for these two, I want to be clear that ultimately my plays are about people. I mean, that's the juxta of writing. It's about the relationships between these people and the comedy in those relationships between those people. I had conservatives and progressive. One enjoyed it, which I thought was really great. I take no prisoners. I make fun of both sides. I don't favor one side over the other. And also, Blaine, I think it's really important that that some of the cast members, which I would never say which cast members, are more right-leaning. Everybody makes assumptions in theater that everybody must be liberal. That's not the case. We have folks who vote probably 3 different ways within our own cast. and everyone gets along beautifully, and everyone's having a great time.
Well, you raise also an interesting point there about assumptions people make, and that's, I think, part of the reasons Republicans came into popularity this time, that everybody thought that the country was going one way, and there are a lot of people who didn't think the same way, and I think maybe in politics that's really the case oftentimes, or in life, that people don't necessarily say what they mean or feel.
Yeah, yeah, and it's personal for a lot of people, for whatever decisions that they make politically have to do with the experiences that they've had.
But you say that it's personal, and I think that's in a way kind of sad. It'd be nice if we could speak to people about everything, and yet certain people have the belief that I'll be your friend, but don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, and I think it's kind of cool to be able to talk to anybody about any topic.
Oh, I enjoy talking to anybody who votes on both sides about politics, because I'm always interested to hear what everyone has to think. I think we belittle one another when we actually isolate it to a political party. It's better to just actually discuss an issue versus bringing in the political sides.
Yeah, the key you were telling me off the air is it ties into even some of the political groups you run in terms of blogging, I guess, or on the internet, that I love to talk to people, but at least I want to be respectful to them, and not curse them out and make fun of them and belittle
Absolutely.
them. And that's the sad thing, that I think we've lost a little of that, to use the word civility, but I
Well,
think
it's the memeing of America.
Exactly.
We all love to post those memes, like we have those moments where like, yes, we're enraged about some specific issue and the perfect meme is there.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like the way to divide America. But if people can at least have some distance about it and some humor. And, I think that it's really important to point out that one of my observations politically is that no matter how you vote, no matter who you vote for, I find people are extremely giving of heart in both parties. That's my experience. I mean, some of the kindest people I know are conservatives. And I have family members in my family of origin who vote all different ways. And so part of this play is finding common ground in the end of the play, and how do they find common ground. And of course, there's some comedy in that as well.
By the way, you just came up with the title for your next play. I love it. The Memeing of America.
Yes, the memeing of America.
But wouldn't that be a great? But wouldn't that be a great title? Or you mentioned
Thank you. You just helped me out. Thank you, Blaine.
No, but you mentioning Saturday Night Live, and I can see a whole
Yeah.
bunch of skits. Written around memes. And each one would be a little skit. At least I think it'd be funny. I'd go see it. Talking about seeing this play, it's Nick of Time is the name of it?
In the Nick of
In the
Time,
Nick of
Mountain
Time.
Political Action Committee meets again.
I love it. And again, you don't have to have seen the first one, but you can have seen the first one. You chose to have it at Magnetic Theater. Why
Yes.
so?
Well, the Magnetic Theater is this wonderful, fertile, welcoming ground to new writers, original works. They're known for it. And I actually think they're the perfect mid-sized theater. They're a little over 80 seats, I believe, right now. And they have this wonderful rustic quality black box down in the River Arts District. And they are less controlling and more encouraging for new writers. And I feel we're very fortunate to have that in our community. And I love all the theaters in Asheville. I should be very clear about that. But they have a special place.
And one of the things I love about Magnetic Theater is they oftentimes go out for original stuff or new stuff or stuff that's not been produced elsewhere.
That's right.
And almost everything they do too. They also inevitably have some really really good people working there. I think Katie Jones has done just a great job as the new new artistic.
She's stepping in now and doing a great job of transitioning the theater.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really done, I think, beautifully. Rodney Smith does a lot of good stuff there too.
Oh,
and,
yeah, longtime member.
And then you also have kind of a mutual friend of ours for the director of this next play, who also directed the first play. Did Michael?
Michael Lilly, yeah, he's fabulous.
How'd you come up with Michael as your director?
Michael directed me at the Asheville Community Theater years ago when I played Lexi in the Dixie Swim Club.
Okay, I did see that. Yeah.
And he really is what I call an actor's director. He knows how to really cast great people and let them run with it. And he's so respectful to actors because, of course, he's an actor himself. And I find he has a very special approach to the way he communicates to actors that that's not seen in a lot of other people.
And so you chose, I guess, Michael to be the director of the first play, and then the second one?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. I mean, I really begged Michael to participate and do it because I had such a great experience with him. And, of course, his wife, Brenda, is well known as well in the theater. They're both just kind of well known in the entire theater community.
Well, we should tell the story also of Michael, that not only will folks get to see him direct this next play, but I know he's very excited about the fact that he's going to be in it as well. And I'm being somewhat facetious about that. But talk about what happened that Michael's now going to be in the play as well.
Well, apparently every male character actor that could play a Southern character named Bo was taken in other projects. And so Michael is wonderful. He said, I'll step in and play the part, and it's a fun, character role in the ensemble.
But also, to Michael's credit, he originally wasn't scheduled to be this part, but yet somebody had health issues, I guess, or something came up that somebody couldn't be in it, and Michael had to step in at the last minute?
Yeah, I mean, we just couldn't get the one role cast, and actually, to be honest, Michael's perfect for it. I'm really glad. I'm delighted he's willing to do it.
Well, I'd say, yeah, he's willing to do it, and just to his credit, I mean, that's a big deal to both act and direct in a play at the same time.
Very much so. Very much so. But if anyone could do it, it would be Michael.
Okay. So you get to see Michael. You also get to see, you mentioned some of the folks in the first show. So you would say, in terms of describing this play, you'd say, I guess, it's comedy with serious moments, or serious, how would you describe it?
More comedy. There's not much dramedy in this. No, it's mostly almost 100% comedy. Yes. But this one's funnier than the first one, in my opinion. And actually, Michael thought the same thing. Yeah.
Is it tough writing comedy?
It comes easily to me for whatever reason.
Yeah. Had you ever written comedy before?
Not like this. This is my third full-length play. Magnetic let me run with a reading of what happens after Manhattan, which I may ultimately get produced 5-woman comedy, but a little more drama in that one. But this play is a perfect fit for the Magnetic. It really is.
I mean, so that's pretty exciting. So at the same time you're finishing this, or it's already finished, you're already working on another play?
Well, yeah, I actually have a really great idea for another play that I want to write about the holidays.
This would be the fourth play?
Yeah, I would be working on a fourth play now. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's really cool, and I admire many people, including Jeff Messers, is
I love Jeff,
one of my
yeah.
favorites as well. But he was on a recent show, and he talks about it. It reminds me a little of you, Anna, that he talks about he has 9 projects going simultaneously. And he talks about cooking, and he has a stove with 9 burners, but he always keeps his 10th one free for the 10th thing that he's going to be doing. And you sound a little like that, too. So you have 2 current plays, one we're producing or putting on, then you have a third play out there that's ready for production. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Then you're in the back of your mind, or you started already on your 4th play?
Yeah, I think once you get going, you want to keep going. So, and I fully enjoy it. And when I write, I shut the world out, and I have a wonderful time getting to know the people in my head that I'm spilling out onto the pages.
When you write, do you do it on a religious basis? That is, like, every day you give yourself
Yes.
the first 2 hours of the day?
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily as structured, like, I'm going to do exactly 2 hours, but I just become obsessed. And I shut Facebook out for a few weeks and get excited and really think about these people all of the time, basically. And I don't write over a long period of time. Basically, my plays get done, the initial draft, I should say, in 3 weeks. And then I put it down for a while because I need to be objective. And I'll put it down for a couple months and come back to it. And then with that fresh eye, I go back through it and edit it and redo it.
Do you have anybody else read it?
Well, yeah, certainly. At the Magnetic, they in order to pass muster, they read it, yes.
Does your husband read your stuff or your son?
No, nobody under my roof. They show up for opening night. My husband's like the farthest thing from theater there is.
But he will show up for it.
Oh, he loves to show up.
Or
Yes.
something.
Yes.
One of the really cool things I think you have about time, aside from having put together a good cast, good director, I don't know if it was your idea or whose idea it was, but you're also bringing in some local politicians.
Oh, yes. Yes.
What was the idea behind that?
Well, don't want to give it away, but it's a very SNL funny sketch monologue that people can walk in and read. And I had the concept that city council members could come in and read. It's very self-deprecating. It's a nice fit into the show, and it's a update on the Vance Monument. So,
Do you mention them by name?
well, they mention themselves by name, but I won't say which nights
Right.
people are coming, except for the mayor. She's going to thankfully open for us this Friday night and be the first to do the honors to read that role.
Now, are all the council members in it?
No, I'd love to have had all the council members, but I think some people might be afraid. They might be trepidatious, but they're not being made fun of. I want to be very clear. They are playing the role of themselves, being very funny about the Asheville area.
But what a great idea, though, just to do a local show and then to bring in some of these local politicians. I think that's brilliant.
Well, it gives a little flavor, and I think a lot of politicians enjoy having fun and playing, so they'll enjoy the process as well.
When you mentioned that they're going to be most of the shows, but not the afternoon shows. Unfortunately, I'll probably see the afternoon show. Who takes the roles when they're not there?
Oh, Paul Clark, a former writer for the Asheville Citizen-Times, who couldn't be more perfect.
So he'll cover for
he
the-
can play himself as well if he wants to. I don't think we're creating a different character for him. He gets to be himself. So, in the play, this is the only part where people play themselves.
These characters seem to become part of you, I guess, after you've written 2 plays. Do you see them having a life after the show? Meaning, could there be a 3rd show or a 4th show?
There could be, but I will tell you this, that just like I did with this show, I introduced new people and new characters. And in order to keep any sort of a series fresh and relevant, you kind of have to keep doing that and introducing new folks into the play. But yeah, there's certainly plenty of material out there if I wanted to continue this concept.
In terms of the Asheville scene, you also have been involved politically as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, many years ago, I was the vice chair of the Buncombe County Democratic Party.
Okay. Do you see yourself being in politics in the future?
I don't know. I think you have to have an enormous amount of courage today to run for office, and the transparency is so transparent now that I think they're almost like soldiers going out there to do public service and put up with a lot of criticism, a lot of public complaint. I think it takes courage to do that.
As you're saying it, too, I'm thinking of a 4th play for you, or next play, too. But that would really be a powerful play to talk about, some great political films from years ago. But I don't know if I've seen anything about somebody running for office nowadays, or, how it's changed.
Oh, it's changed in the 21 years I've lived in Asheville enormously. Lenny Sitnick was mayor back then, and think about it, Facebook hadn't taken off yet.
And that anybody could say anything about anybody anytime they want.
Right.
And the incredible thing, talking about Facebook, and some Democratic candidates have tried to do this, that you can put down anything. It doesn't have to be true, and just gets written, and that people accept
and
it.
People feel that that it's okay to be as enraged as they are. And I'm not sure how I feel, because, one part of me thinks, well, that's the beautiful part of our democracy, is protesting without fear. But on the other hand, at the local level, I see some dedicated public servants who have to deal with literally the roar of the crowd, and the meetings are aired, and you see people making threats at our city council members openly, and I guess that bothers me a little bit, because it's at the local level, and I feel like I'm appreciative to the people who have run and are doing the best they can.
And also not only in terms of making threats, but when people go to a restaurant or something like that, you hear about it at national level.
I
But it's a
know.
shame even at local level that the people have to be subjected to abuse if they would just want to eat dinner.
Which is why I always write a positive review every time I go out. I would never write a negative review about a restaurant. That is such a hard business. They could have one off night.
So funny you say that, Anna, because as you may know, I do the same kind of thing when I see theater. Even if I don't like it, I want to write something positive because people in theater, they work so hard to put on a show.
They work very hard.
And to say something that could hurt the attendance would be, I think, it's sad when it happens. The other thing about politics, you were mentioning, the idea of people having to have the guts to run for political office. A whole bunch of years ago, I was going to run for town council in my town, and I was chosen to run for it. But what I couldn't believe, this was a long time ago, Honor, was the money involved. And I was told to run for town council a lot of years ago, I had to personally raise $20,000. A friend of mine, to run for the library board, had to raise $10,000.
It's crazy.
But there's something wrong with that. Why should you have to raise money to have the honor of running for political office? But that's something wrong with that, I think.
Well, they've talked about districting in Asheville, and if there was districting, one of the upsides might be that they don't have to raise as much money because they're just running in their district. That would be like a positive. So,
Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, because if you're representing a small district and not the entire city, you actually also are limited to that group of people that you serve. So that might be one positive.
Anna, if people want to see In the Nick of Time, it opens, I think, this weekend?
It opens Friday, November 1st, this weekend, and runs through November the 24th for 4 weekends straight.
Okay, long show, so there'll certainly be a chance to see it.
Long run, but
I mean,
not a long
not
show.
long-
Let me be clear. I never write a long show because I know people get shifty in their seats.
And thanks for the clarification, because it's funny you say shifty, but I think maybe as I get older too, but I'm just like that. I prefer shorter.
Yeah.
How long is the show?
Oh, gosh. I mean,
About?
maybe less than an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
Maybe less, and there's a nice intermission, and the second act is relatively short.
Okay, my kind of show, though,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just recently got through with Arsenic Old Lace, and it was very well done at Hendersonville, but almost a 3-hour show, and,
Right.
and that's a little bit too long for me.
It's like an opera, right?
Exactly. So they won't see a long show. And even, Anna, you're saying like an opera, still had 3 acts, where do you see 3 acts anymore? But that
At the opera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people can see In the Nick of Time at Magnetic Theater. I'm trying to think if I know.
7:30, by the way.
7:30, and then a Sunday also.
Yes, Sunday
At,
matinees.
is it 3? I think, or 2:30.
I'm thinking 2:30, but look on the website
Check-
for the Magnetic
check
Theater to check
website.
that. Mhm.
So again, if people want to see Nick of Time, you can see it starting this coming weekend. Next 4 weekends at Magnetic Theater, and in terms of anything else you want to say about the play.
Just that this is a really funny cast. No one's a star. It's pure ensemble. And if you guys out there who are listening want to escape from reality for a fun evening, it's a funny, funny, funny show. I promise you, you will laugh.
Okay, well, that's a good promise. And even if you're not into politics, you'll enjoy the show?
Oh, of course. Yeah, this is more about the people than the politics.
Okay, and on that, thank Honor Moor for being my guest on this special edition of Blaine's World Show. We hope to see you next week, regular time on Wednesdays, 9 to 10. I'm going to see if we can switch you back into regular programming in just a second. And we'll thank Anna for being our guest.
Thanks for having me, Blaine.
Okay, great, Anna. Thanks a lot. Let me see if I can get this going. Technical difficulties, and we're going to regular programming.